Welcome to Widowed Too Soon, where real-life widows and widowers come together to share their stories of survival, faith, and the journey of finding hope in the darkest of times. Whether you're newly widowed or have been on this journey for some time, each week we're here to provide you with inspiration, practical advice, and the reassurance that you are not alone. You were made to not only survive, but thrive. And now here's your host, a woman who has walked this path herself, who finds solace in writing, joy in speaking, and freedom in dancing like nobody's watching. Michelle Bader Ebersole.
Welcome to Widow Too Soon. This is Michelle Bader Ebersole. I'm so excited to be back with another guest interview. I talked about this last time, but just to remind you that our 200th episode is coming up. I'm so excited. And to celebrate, we're going to be recording on a live Zoom. And so it's going to be where you as a guest can come and ask any question of the show about being widowed, basically anything you want to, and I will probably answer. No, I will. And so be looking for a link in the show notes for where you can register and you'll be part of our 200th show. So we will get to that in a few weeks. All right. I am sitting down with Betsy Ronel. How are you today, Betsy?
I'm good, and thank you, and congratulations on your upcoming 200th episode.
Thank you.
That's great.
I know, it's crazy. It just happened. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. It's 4 years.
Yeah, it didn't just
almost,
happen.
Yeah, almost never missing a Tuesday. Almost never. There's been a few times, and I did have a co-host, so it was like a little easier of like, oh, okay, I'm going to be gone. Can you do it? And then when he left, it was like, okay, I can do this. And what helps is having people like yourself who end up finding me, and then we connect, and then I have all these guests.
Yes.
And it's been awesome. So we actually connected because you have a podcast called Heavens to Betsy.
Yeah.
And you reached out to me to interview me. So thank you for doing that.
Of course. Well, I heard your podcast originally with your former podcast partner, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. But then I loved it even more when it was just you and different guests. I was like, okay, now we're cooking with Crisco here. Like, this is
you
good.
know, everything, there's a season and a time and all of that stuff. And I think it was good for a time and it got it started.
Yes.
And then we just took a different direction. And that's what, you know, life is about, pivoting, finding a way to make it work. And I actually felt, and my listeners know this, I've talked about it a few times, that God gave me a vision, like literally, like I was like gonna quit the podcast a year and a half-ish ago. And I felt like I had this vision, like it just came in my head of me handing megaphones to all these people. Like there's still more people to tell their story, like you know, and it's like so cool that you wouldn't be here probably on my podcast because I wouldn't have one anymore. Right. You know, if I hadn't, what I believe God gave me a vision, because I don't know where else it came from. Yes. And so it's been really cool. I have met so many amazing people, as you're seeing with your podcast, right? Yep. Isn't it so fun to meet people all over the world because of technology? It's just like we're sitting here and we're able to talk to people and all of that. So it's been really fun. And tell everybody where you're coming from in the world. Where do you live?
Okay, so I live in New York, so Westchester County, New York.
Nice.
Best known, it's the Bedford area. Best known for like the likes of Martha Stewart, Matt Damon. Yeah, like a lot of celebrities.
Like how far are you from like New York City? That's
1 hour. 1 hour.
Okay. So Joel, my husband now, and I got to take Haley on my daughter, her senior year, to New York City to do Broadway. So Joel had a job flying a jet as a co-pilot. And so we got to go to a private jet all the way to New York City.
Oh my God. Hello.
It was amazing. And we went and saw Lion King and Aladdin, and she just loved it. So we're looking at coming back for Christmas. Like I want to do the what's it called? The Rocketeers or
the Rockettes. The Rockettes.
Rockettes. That
They're
one, not Rocketeers.
so fun. Oh, you will love it. Believe it or not, as a born and bred New Yorker, my best friend, who is also a born and bred New Yorker, she and I I think her parents took her when she was little, but I had never been my entire life to the Rockettes.
Wow.
We went together a couple of years ago. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal. You will love it. She will love it. I mean, it is. Yeah,
that's what we want to do, because when we went before, they were just setting up for Christmas as we were leaving, and we want to go back. So we're looking at like November, December, trying to figure out if we can go. But anyways, That's what I know of New York, and I
Let me know if you
absolutely
come.
love.
I'll come visit you.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into your story. So this is what I love. I love hearing love stories. So let's take it back. Tell me about how you met your husband and his name and what your life was like, all that stuff.
Okay. And I love recounting this.
Yes,
So my husband's name was Daniel Ronel. And we met in 1999 on a little website at the time called Match.com.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
I met him. I had just gotten out of a very long on and off, way too long, on and off 12-year relationship with like my high school boyfriend who turned into my on-off college boyfriend. We got back together after we graduated. We were going to get married. And it was just a childhood relationship that should have ended years before. But I think we were attached to each other. And at the base of everything, we were actually very good friends. And it was just odd. We just held on to each other for too long. So, but that was really, I mean, I had a couple of boyfriends in between, but that was really all that I knew for the most part.
Yeah.
In depth. And I told my friends, okay, we're finally broken up for real, for good. Like now it's time to find a husband. And they said, okay. Cause they knew I was like, you know, a hermit, basically. I'm not someone who goes out and not a party girl and anything like that. Yeah. So they were like, well, what are we going to do with you now? Because, you know, you're going to die an old maid. And I was like, I am not. I am going to have children. Like I have a life. And then so one of them was working, I think, for one of the major networks. And she said, well, there's this new thing out. It's a dating website. And I thought it was like a singles page, like, you know, or like random hookups happen. I was like, that is gross. That is not what I would ever do. What do you think of me? And it was a whole fight that we had. And they were like, no. It's actually for people just like you who don't go to the bars, who don't go out. How else are you going to meet someone except for this? So I said, all right, fine. And you had to put your picture up. The internet was barely going on in 1999. Right,
and there weren't like apps. It's just on the internet. It's not. Yeah. We didn't have anything on our phone yet. So
no, nothing. No, I had like a Nokia little skinny thing that you could make calls with, and that was about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
So this, it was a Match website, and it was freaky. So they're like, but you have to put your picture up. So I said, I am not putting my picture up. I lived in a big, popular apartment building in New York City. And you know, you worry, a woman alone. My mother was like, that is not safe. I don't think this is wise and whatever. So they convinced me and they got my mother on board. And I put in like a picture of myself where you could just see almost like just a fourth of my face. And I had like my chihuahua there protecting what you could see. It was just so sheepish. But that was the picture I put up. That was the only one. And then I had noticed on others that some men didn't put up their pictures either. So they would say, you know, email for full picture, you know, if you want to see my face. And I was like, okay, I'll do the same. But I gave them a little sliver so they could see my hair color and, you know, the shape of my face with my chihuahua. And I said, you can email me. And, you know, if we get along, I'll happily send you a full face picture. So I had, they gave you a free week back then. And free week. And so I was like, I'm not going to spend any money on this nonsense. Of course, but I'll do it for free. So I wrote up a short bio, you know, of myself. And then like, you know, the matches started coming in and I was like, oh, these are actually normal guys that I would totally go out with. So I set up 3 dates in my free week. 2 of them had to travel last minute for work. And they said, but, you know, I definitely want to go out. I'm going to get back to you when I go out. We can email while I'm away, which was sweet. And so we were. And then my 3rd date that I had set up didn't have to go anywhere. So we kept our date. And that date was Daniel Ronel. Oh. And we met and I was like, he's so different from anything I had ever, you know, dated before, was interested in before. And it was just weird and jaw dropping. And I mean, really like the hand of God was in there because, and I wasn't even ready mentally. I was like, that's fine. I'll go on a couple of dates, see what that's like at 28. And, you know, I'm old now, so it must be different, you know, and that was it. That was it. One and done. And then when they came back, they were like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a few days. Should we go on our date? And I said, you know, I really don't want to anymore. No offense to you. Yeah. And they were like, how do you know? You went out with him once. I said, I don't know. I don't know. But at this moment, I think it's not right to go on another date. And, you know, I'll let you know if this doesn't work out. And they were like, damn, that's, you know, amazing. Wow. Congratulations. But we're here. So that was it. I couldn't get rid of him.
Wow.
I
So
tried.
tell me about like how he proposed and about your wedding and all that good stuff.
So he was French and a
Okay.
U.S. citizen, but born in France, and
Wow.
French family. Yeah, all U.S. citizens, but they've been here for forever. But but I loved France myself. Always considered myself a Francophile. I knew French, and I don't know. I come from the fashion industry originally, and so of
Okay.
course, yeah, very into the French and their style and their aesthetic and all that. So I was like, "Ooh, Frenchmen!" I was so excited about that. And I talked about going to Paris, and I had been a few times with my other boyfriend, and I just loved it. And he said, "Well, let's make a trip to go." So I said, "All right, we'll go." So he was very much a planner, and he was the doer. He was the man in the relationship, which I loved. And he made a plan, and we went. I think we went over Valentine's Day. So we started dating in 1999, right? And then we celebrated New Year's, so we partied like it was 1999 on New Year's Eve.
Y2K.
Exactly.
World's gonna shut down.
Right. It was
I
Y2K.
remember
God,
that.
we sound really old when we say that. But back
No.
then, because I was like, well, you're the only one I want to be with in case the world shuts down.
Right.
We'll have my mom on the phone and we'll be good. And so, but it didn't shut down, and we slept through the night, and we woke up to a wholesome world again. But anyway, so we went in February of 2000, and we had talked about getting married very quickly. And I said, that's really makes me nervous. I had been with this guy, on and off for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about myself. I got to go to therapy. I got a lot of unpacking too. And he said, that's fine. You can unpack this with me. I am not letting you go. And I said, well, that makes me feel weird. And how do you know? And he was a few years older than me, but so he had been around. He wanted to get married, and he was like, I just know, because I can handle you. And he was a doctor. So like he was a resident at the time. So he really had that. And I come from a whole family of doctors. So he had that calm, healing demeanor. And I was like, you know what? Somehow I actually believe you. So I said, all right, we can get engaged when you want, but I would like a long engagement, really more for your sake than mine, because let me give you ample opportunity to realize you're with the wrong girl and you can run away. So we picked out our ring and everything. And, but I said, just now, surprise, we have the ring, so we're good. You can give it to me whenever you want. So we were in Paris over Valentine's Day, and I really actually forgot about the engagement ring. I hadn't really thought about it. Then all of a sudden it's raining. It's rush hour. We're on the Pont Neuf Bridge, which was one of his favorite bridges in Paris. Aww. And all of a sudden I'm walking along. It's like nasty winter rain in Paris. Yeah. And my umbrella, I had a hood on. It was just miserable. And he pulls my hand to make me stop and turn around. He goes, wait 1 second. Next thing I know, he's got his knee in a puddle. And this was so him. He just didn't, he was very ethereal. Knee in his puddle. He's like, I want to marry you right now. Will you marry me? I love you so much. And I was like, you're an idiot. You're into the rain. What's wrong with you? And he's like, gorgeous. Just answer the question. I'm getting wet here. And I said, okay, yes, of course I want to marry you. Of course. Thank you so much. They were kissing and everyone started honking on the Pont Neuf. It was very cute. So that was
oh, that's so sweet. That's beautiful. It sounds like a movie. Like it's raining, all this stuff.
It was gross. It was
beautiful. Though. What a beautiful story. Okay, then tell us about your wedding.
So the wedding was, we're in New York. New York is incredibly expensive. Always has been. And I had a lot of friends back then, and I don't know, I don't know, not every girl dreams of a big wedding, but I dreamed of a really beautiful wedding, and not enormous, but good size. And I have a small family, so that was a good thing. But I had a ton of friends, and I was so proud to marry him that I really wanted to make a big production of it. And I really liked his family, and I wanted there to be room for all of his international relatives to come, and so we were picking venues, like very traditional, high-level venues in New York City. And we had the money. I had a good career, and he had saved a lot. So we definitely had the money to do it. And as we're looking at the cost of just renting the space, not including catering and all the rest of that jazz, I began to think, and I wasn't in real estate yet, but I always loved the business of real estate. And I began to say to him, if we got a first-time buyer's loan, we don't even have to put anything down on a mortgage, and we could put money down on a mortgage instead of putting money down on a one-day event that we will be throwing in the toilet, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So I was practical back then. Now I've turned into some kind of fool. But anyway, so he was like, what? You don't want to be? I said, oh, I want a nice wedding, but I would much rather own the wedding venue later and, celebrate there. So we started looking for houses, and they were just, very simple houses. And we found one we loved. It had a perfect backyard. And we put all that money into the venue, etc., into our down payment and doing up that backyard. So we planted all winter, all the bulbs, and we coordinated them to bloom in our colorscape. I mean, it was pretty exquisite. And it looked like everyone was like, where did you get married? When they saw the pictures, it looked like we owned some grand estate with like canopies of trees. I mean, it looked like a fairy tale. I was like, well, that's our backyard in Hartsdale. And no, we own a 3-bedroom ranch that we needed to do everything to. And it was just, the photographer, it was just an amazing day. We had a 3-piece,
amazing.
Like a classical violinist and harps, and it was
what a
gorgeous.
Great idea. That's actually really smart. Put the money into your house and then use your house for the wedding venue. I mean,
and I didn't have to worry. Like, I got ready in my bathroom, in my bedroom. Like, everything it was like having your friends over. I had friends sleeping over the night before. It was so easy, and I like things easy. It was hard enough to be in a dress and like have a face full of makeup and like hair I couldn't touch, and that was uncomfortable enough for me. But yeah, we did it in our backyard, and it wasn't, picnic wedding there. It was a really nice wedding, but it was in our backyard, and we saved a ton of money and owned the house at the end of the day.
So brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. I was very proud.
More people did that. That's like such a great idea.
Right?
I love that. Yes.
I know. It was
then tell me about what life was like, right when you got married, kids, all the stuff.
I mean, I really had like a dream, and I'm not saying that because he's dead. He is not on a pedestal. If he were here today, I would kill him for dying. I always say, I'm so mad. But he literally, he was everything. I made a list when I got rid of my longtime boyfriend. I was like, okay, whatever, that childhood nonsense, that's over. Now it's grown-up time. So I made literally a list, and I would recite it every night as I was drifting off to sleep and pray to God, this is the man for me. I know it. And if it's not, then give me someone that is going to be perfect for me. God granted me everything on that list. I even wanted a man who was shorter because I'm short. I'm only 5'4". My husband was 5'8". And I was like, this is perfect. And my high school boyfriend was well over 6 feet tall. So I was like, this is not working. But, I'm really short. So God knew that was the perfect man for me. And he gave me my husband with a bow. So I really was granted everything I could have ever dreamed of at the time. And I was so, so blessed. And even like on a day when I was like, I hate him, he's driving me up the wall, I always would look at my ring and just thank God for him. Because it was, and I think we wrote in our wedding rings, my mother said, divine providence. This was divine providence. So that was what I put in my ring to him, my inscription. Because it just was. Beautiful. So it was beautiful. It was, for me, I had the perfect life. I had everything I ever wanted. And, but I was now we waited 1.5 years to get married. And so I was, old, over 30, trying to get pregnant. And it took a minute. And so I was scared. I was like, well, that's it. This is a geriatric pregnancy. I am old. This isn't going to work. But I was like, that's fine. If it doesn't work, we will adopt. No problem. But I wanted to try and see if we couldn't do it ourselves first. It was just, the doctor was like, your body just needs to know that, yes, it can get you pregnant now. So let's let it have some time in order to do that. So we got pregnant, and then my father ended up getting sick and dying during my pregnancy.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. So hard. My dad was like a human god to me. He was amazing. So that was shocking. That was shocking even for him. Yeah, even for my dad, he was like, I'm dying. And I was like, no, that's impossible. He was young. He was only 70. So that was shocking. But anyway, so my son was actually born a year. Was it a year? So my dad died. No, my dad was buried, and then a year to the day later, my son's due date was given to be that date, and I was like, okay, never, nobody ever arrives on their due date. My son arrived bright and early on his due date, which was 1 year exactly after we had buried my father.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a bittersweet day.
I know, but I really loved it. I was like,
yeah, it's kind of a gift.
like,
Yes.
it was, my dad was part of the whole thing. So
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. No, but my life was really like, I wanted for nothing. So I just had a very blissful life, and I did not always have a blissful life. So I felt like, God was giving me a break here for a while.
And then you went on to have another child, right?
We had another son 3.5 years later, and then we wanted 4 kids. And so when my husband ended up done, but I wanted these 2 to be bonded and a little bit older. So we waited we started getting pregnant or trying to get pregnant again when my younger son was 4. And thinking, I'd probably have the babies when he was 5, 5.5, something like that. We ended up getting pregnant with twins.
Oh, wow.
And then that was when my husband was killed. So I miscarried those, which,
oh my goodness.
I know, but I know this sounds rough. And my mother said it out loud, and I screamed at her at first, but she's like, I don't mean this in any negative way, but I don't see that you can bring these children into this world. And I kind of hope you have a miscarriage. We will let, God's will do what he's going to do. What he sees right will happen. But if you miscarry, this is a blessing in disguise. And I was like, what? How can you say that? But my mother was never wrong, except maybe a couple of times. She was really right. And I did miscarry, and I actually wasn't that sad about it.
Right. That was God's plan. And,
there was I can't even imagine. First of all, twins on a good day is rough, right? I mean,
a newly widowed with twins
right. No, the cost, and my husband was the breadwinner. I wasn't working. So how was I going to do that alone in acute grief? And also they would have been in utero, and the grief I went through is enough to turn you to addict yourself to drugs and do horrible things to yourself. Like, I'm sad that they didn't come through. I am sad, but I'm glad, because I don't know what that would have been like.
Right. That would have been very
brand new babies.
difficult.
Yeah, so this is where we trust in God. Yeah.
Yep. So tell me about the day that everything changed for you.
Okay, so that was February in 2011. My husband, I'm getting over a cold, but my husband and I had one of those toddler colds that are like, they're running around sneezing and like still busy, but it wipes you on your butt.
Yes,
so it was one of those. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It was really bad, the dead of winter. And he was a surgeon. So he never took medicine when he was operating, because he didn't want it to affect however it would affect him.
Right.
You just can't take a chance. So, surgeons are like pro athletes. They're able to like deal with it and be on for the amount of time they need to be on. And then they come home and they collapse. So that's how he was. So he wasn't taking anything for his germ. I was like on everything under the sun, dying. And we were both really sick. So he had gone to work. He had a very long surgical day that day. And I asked his staff, please, I knew he didn't really eat much during the day. My dad was a doctor too. He never ate really during the day. And the staff had to like force him, please just eat a piece of bread, like eat something.
Yeah.
But these guys, again, they're like pro athletes feed themselves, but they are just on a different level of performance. It's like an F1 car. You do have to feed the car and take care of it. I don't know. Surgeons are built differently. So they would keep going. So but his staff did say we managed to make him, because he was sick, to eat a salad. So he had some nourishment during the day, and he kept drinking water all day. So that was good. So he called us as usual on his way home, because he would often fall asleep while driving. I know. And so it was me or my mother or his patients who would keep him occupied on the phone on the way home. So just keep him awake. So I said to him that evening, I said, wow, this cold is really taking a toll on you. You sound literally like you're dead, tired. I've never heard you sound so exhausted. He was just spent. He said, I know, I'm so tired. I've never been this tired in my life. I hope I can, get home, whatever. Just mumbling. And I said, well, that's fine. Stop at the gas station, which he always did, for your coffee. And, call me after you get the coffee. He said, okay, good. Okay, gorgeous. I'll talk to you in a bit. And I said, call, because I had to finish making his dinner. So I said, let me go finish your dinner, but you go to the gas station. And if you need to call someone, call my mom, because she's, ready to talk. So he's like, all right, great. Okay, gorgeous. I'll talk to you later. I'll see you soon. Love you. Bye. Bye. And the kids were like, bye, Daddy. Love you. That was the end. Then he crashed. Yeah, he fell asleep on the way to the gas station.
Did he ever call your mom? Like after you?
So it's so fascinating what the police find out.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Okay, we know we shouldn't be dialing and driving and whatever, but this was 2011. We didn't have those Siri screens and everything.
Right.
So he would, and this was part of his brain gym. He never would store people's phone numbers in his phone, even his patients. No one. It was, my husband was incredibly bright. And so he was like, it was his brain gym to remember everybody's phone number. So he was left-handed. So he drove, kept this hand on the left hand on the steering wheel. And in his right hand, he was typing in phone numbers. So he began to type in the area code and the first three letters, because my mom had he typed in the first three numbers of her, she had an in-state phone number, first three numbers of her phone number. And then that was the end of it. So he was starting to call her.
Oh, okay.
And they think that he just like was asleep, kind of dropped, like not alert, kind of dropped the phone, because the way where they found the phone was on the right side on the dirt. Like they know everything.
Right.
So I was like, I don't understand then. How does he, crash? And they said, we don't think he had the presence of mind to know. He wasn't all there in those moments. He was exhausted and like going through the motions, and then probably dropped the phone. It looks like he went to get the phone, got the phone, and then hit the rumble strip. That really alerted him. But by the time he hit the rumble strip, he was into the bridge. On the passenger side, it's not like he hit it head on or the driver's side. He hit the passenger side of his car and died anyway. But so he did start to call her. He was a good boy.
Wow. So tell me about how did you find out and what that was like?
So again, I was dealing with my kids at home. I was sick. I was trying to make him a yummy, cozy meal. And I just had given him the instructions, call my mom and get the coffee. And I fully expected that he would call me back. But he didn't. And I thought, that's okay. He doesn't need to call me back. He's probably listening to classical music, which he liked to do. And maybe he's relaxing now that he's got his coffee going, or, talking to patients, whatever. I didn't think much of it. And actually, I forgot. He used to have a radio show. So that night he actually was driving to the radio show in Santa Fe where we lived. And I even said, cancel the radio show. Like, you need to just come home. It was Friday night. You need to come home and sleep all weekend. Like, this is enough nonsense now. He didn't want to cancel the radio show because it was with a group that helped physically challenged kids ski. And he really was like, no, listen, this guy's coming all the way from another town. I am going to honor this. I can hold on for another, hour or two. We're good. I'm not letting this guy down. This is an important interview for him. We're going to go through with it. So that's actually where he was heading when he was coming home from work. And so, like half an hour goes by, and I'm like, And I call my mom. I said, did Daniel call you? She said, no, why? And I said, he was supposed to call you. And she said, no, I haven't heard from him. And I said, okay. She goes, he hasn't called you back? And I said, no. And that's why I was like, okay, but why would I ever have reason to worry? Who's thinking their husband's not coming home? So I just, kept on. And it was like, I let it go. So I was just like playing with the kids, getting his dinner ready, just getting the house tidied up for him and everything. And then finally the radio show would be over. So I would always give him about 15 minutes to, get in the car and then call me on his way home. That call didn't come. Now I'm like this, and he was moved like clockwork. Like my husband was 110% reliable. So this was a little, So I thought, well, maybe he got caught up with the guy, and maybe he got caught up with our producer because we liked our producer. So I texted our producer. I said, hey, I didn't text him. I called our producer. We didn't have texting back then. I called our producer and I said, oh, no, we did. No, I texted him. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I was thinking of when we first met. No, I texted Gino, our producer, and I said, hey, is my husband on his way home? And he said, Betsy, I didn't have your cell phone number. I only had his. He never showed up. Oh. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? He never showed up. Right. Yeah, he never showed up. We've been calling him. We called his service. We called his staff. And, no one's called you. And I said, no, what? So then I called. I didn't know. I called him, of course. Nobody's answering the phone. I mean, it was just it was a freaky, I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
Right.
So then I started calling all the hospitals because I said, well, maybe he did finally fall asleep and he got injured. Like maybe the worst has happened. Again, not thinking he was dead.
Right.
But so I started calling all the hospitals where he operated. And I was like, hey, by chance, did Dr. Ronel, come in? And like, no, and they all knew him. They're like, no, Dr. Ronel's not here. Was he on call? No. I'm wondering if he came in as an emergency patient or something. So I started, this is like 8:30 at night on a Friday, 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, what do I even do? So I called my best friend who lived around the corner. And I said, I haven't heard from my husband. And I said, something's wrong. Something's really wrong.
Yeah.
And, like my heart sank, my stomach, I felt I was going to throw up. And I kind of turned white. My mother lived in our guest house. So she came over. I said, you need to come over here right now. So she came over. I didn't tell the children anything yet, but they're like, where's Daddy? Bouncing. I said, Daddy's a little bit delayed. Just Mommy's figuring out. I haven't spoken to him yet, but I'm going to find him, and they were like, okay, they're little kids. They don't know. So then my friend, who was very practical, she said, we need to call the police. So I called the police and they were like, no, we haven't heard any accident reports. So we were in Santa Fe County. This happened in a different county, and the counties didn't communicate, I guess, right away, which is really frustrating.
Yeah.
But whatever. By now, he has been missing for 2 hours. And this is, again, my husband and I were very close. Like, he would not go 2 hours without, even in the OR, he would have his nurses answer my calls or texts. So, like, we were always in communication. I was like, something is really wrong. And so then we started driving out towards Albuquerque, he was en route to Santa Fe. So I was like, maybe we'll see something. Maybe he's asleep on the side of no one had any clue. Then my best friend gets a call from the Santa Fe police, and they said, we found her husband. And they were like, he was in a car accident. I said, oh my God, he always fell asleep. It was bound to happen. Okay, which hospital is he in? Thank you so much. And they just couldn't spit it out. And they're like, well, we can't tell you anything. We need to speak to her. So she put me on the phone, and it was a young man, newer trooper calling me. And he just couldn't spit it out that my husband died, at the scene. He died instantly, thank God, but he was dead. Yeah. And I just didn't, and I certainly wasn't going to say those words. So I was like, I don't understand. I was very confused. And they said, Mrs. Ronel, we hate to say this to you, but he died. I mean, it's heartbreaking even to today. He's dead. And I said, what do you mean he's dead? This is New Mexico. We get everything wrong here. I love us, but send me the license plate. Like, how do I know you got the right guy? Because we would call and we would say, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Ronel. And they would say, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Romero? No.
Right.
So
you're like,
maybe you have
wrong.
a Romero. Yeah, because over the phone it sounds similar.
Yeah.
Like, are you sure you don't have a Romero? Because it is not my husband. I know my husband's not dead. And I said, send me a picture of the license of the victim. It was my husband's license. And I was like, I don't understand. And then I spoke to the person who actually discovered him. And she was a nurse. And so she said, just so you know, he was dead the minute I found him. He did not suffer. He died instantly. And just so because that does bring you peace to know that they were in no pain. But he went like that, thank God. But yeah, he was killed. The worst day of my life.
Oh yeah. And how did you talk to your boys?
So I was like, so first of all, not only did I have to tell my little babies, but I had to tell his father.
Ooh.
His mother had just died of a very lengthy battle with cancer 1 year and a week before this.
Oh my goodness.
And they were married for like 50 plus years in love, childhood sweethearts. Like, I knew I could handle my kids and like, we'll figure this out. But like to have to make that call to a dad that your child has died before you is unacceptable. So I went home, and my mother she passed away now, but she's an older generation. And so I called her and I said, Daniel died. What? And Daniel was like the light of her life. They were BFFs. So to tell her that too, but I was like, again, I will deal with these people. They have me every day. I was scared for his father. So she's like, my mother kind of screwed it up, but she, I guess, told them, well, Daddy's in the hospital and Mommy's going to see him. And I was like, that is not true. Because when I got home, they were like, Mommy, where's Daddy? Did you find him? Ellen's grandma said that he's in the hospital. And I said, what? And I was like, okay, sit down. So my best friend was there too. And we told them. And they just, And
they were how old at this time?
Just 4, almost 5, just 8, like 2 weeks before 8.
So even especially the 4-year-old probably doesn't really.
He doesn't remember, sadly. Yeah,
okay.
but he let out a blood curdling scream, and my older son, who's very stoic, he was so cute. He said, "This is the worstest day of my life," and then he started crying, and so we just hugged and cried and bellowed, and it was disgusting. I mean, it was just the worst feelings imaginable. I'm sweating just even recounting it. And then I was like, I got to call Daniel's dad. But I needed to wait. My mother said, try to get yourself together a little bit because you can't be falling apart on the phone when you deliver this message. So I waited a bit, and I actually left the message overnight. I didn't want to tell. I don't know. I couldn't do it. It took hours for me to do it. And I finally was like, all right, the children are finally asleep, unconscious from crying so much. My mother went to bed. I couldn't sleep. And that's when I called and told his father.
And what was that like?
He didn't answer the phone, but he called me in the morning and he said, "What, Betsy? I don't understand." He was, had his French accent, and he sounded so innocent. And again, realized he had just buried his wife of 50 plus years. They had been together probably for 55 years in total, and actually knew each other as toddlers. Like they were a very tight knit family.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't understand. What do you mean Danielle is dead? And I said, I don't know how to say this to you. I don't know how to say it. I'm just going to tell you what happened. And I'm sorry that I'm not saying this kindly. This is what happened. And he said, oh my God, I can't believe it. This is, what? Betsy, I don't know what to do. I said, you just get here when you can get here, and you're going to do everything you want to do with me. Where is he? I had to go through all the, stuff. And I said, I'm not going to tell you what happened over the phone. When I see you, we will talk and I will tell you. And I said, but he was in an accident and he died instantly. So he suffered no pain. He physically has no external injuries. So he looks okay. I'm told I couldn't go identify him. I had my best friend's husband go to identify him. And it was horrific. Just horrific.
There's just nothing that can prepare you, and especially yours was not where you get prepared. It's at
no
blindsides you.
Yeah,
and it's just the worst thing that you can ever imagine. And I'm so sorry that happened to you and your family, and it's just heartbreaking. And it doesn't matter how many years when we tell our stories, like we can feel like we're there again, and like hearing your story brings me to tears. It's just like. But it is healing when we tell our stories, and it is healing to have tears.
It is.
And I am sure that somebody listening has a similar story to you.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they're going to be able to relate to you and how you got through it and all of that. So even if this is somewhat painful, know that you're being an inspiration.
Absolutely.
So many people right now, because you are on the other side of this. We always miss and love our people, but we can still live and live life to the fullest, which is what I've seen that you've done in the short time that I've gotten to know you. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, to give other people hope and inspiration that it's not always going to stay like it was in that moment. So let's talk about the very beginning, which is so hard. What was it like the first few weeks, months, year? It's kind of a blur, right? I know for me it's a little bit of a blur.
Yeah, I don't remember much. But, first you have to get through the business of death. You have to get to
that's true.
Burying them. How do you want to deal with their body? What are your religious preferences? The cost of things.
Oh, yeah.
What style do you want? I'm like, okay, the last thing he and I styled was a baby shower. This, what? Coffins, what? It was just
business of death. I've never heard it put that way, but that's true. That's what it is.
It's the business of death, and you have to deal with that.
The day he died, where do you want him taken? I'm like, I don't know. What? I don't want to answer these questions.
Yeah. Nobody ever asked me that, because I said, listen to me, I'm giving you the police full authority to talk to my best friend. And we were well-known people in Santa Fe, so people knew who she was, and it was fine. They were like, okay, no problem. She assumed everything, all the legal stuff. She took care of everything. I was and I am not a basket case. If there is an apocalypse, I'm someone you can come to, because I will get us to safety. We're going to thrive and survive with me. All right. I got like a unflappable mentality around this stuff. But this My unflappable had just died. My anchor in the world had just died. Even I love my children, but my mother always would say, the emphasis first is in the marriage. You and your husband always need to be right, and then the children will be right, because children notice everything. Yeah. So we always focused on, we had a really healthy, I was always picking at him, just like when he asked me to marry him. Yeah, you an idiot? That was just me. He's like, yes, I am. I love you. Like, he is just so cute. But he was my anchor in the world, my whole world. And then there were the kids, and I adore my kids. My kids are my whole world, and they were our whole world. But it was me and Daniel first, and then everything else. So anyway, so I had lost my everything, and I was like, because in a crisis, I'd be like, okay, Daniel, what should we do? Right. Now, he was the crisis. Right. Was unbelievable. So I had my best friend Mary Amelia, who also unflappable. She'll get you to safety in an apocalypse. All good. She took over everything. I did not know where the paperwork was. I didn't know where our bank account information was. I didn't know anything. And so she's like, well, where did he keep any of this? I said, I don't know. There's some file cabinet in the garage. Just go. I don't know. And she was so sweet. She found everything.
Wow. That's a good friend.
She was a great and just took it on. She was like, leave it with me. I will handle this. I was like, what? She's like, really? You're going to do something? I don't even know. You do it. So I don't remember much. I just remember the business of death, the business of the burial. And they're like, wow, we have coffins for $800 and $80,000. Right. I was like, I am not spending $80,000, and I'm not a cheap person. But wow, does that seem like an exorbitant waste of money? And I said, listen, my husband, I was a big spender, but my husband would not want some decked out coffin. He was a doctor. He's going into the ground. He's going to be eaten by worms over time. So, I mean, I did have him embalmed because we had a huge service for him and everything. But so eventually he won't be eaten, but he's going to turn into skin and bones in the ground. So I picked a very basic coffin that was modest in price, and I felt he would have been comfortable. Also realized I didn't have a nickel to my name, because with all the people who murder their spouses these days, if you have a singular type accident like that or a death, of course, they suspect the wife is going to be killing him first. I mean, you wouldn't. It's all in the movies, but this is legit.
But you weren't even there.
I know, but how do they know? I didn't have a hit on him for money and cheating on him. They knew nothing. No. So they were right. They protect the deceased first, which I really liked. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem. I was like, what? Wait a minute, because I tried to give them my debit card or my credit card or something to pay for the funeral, and they're like, I'm sorry, this was declined. I was like, that's impossible. No. Don't you know who I am? Yeah. And they were like, we do, but we're so sorry. And I was like, I don't understand. And so actually the funeral director was like, so this may be what happened. And he said, we've seen this before, and this may be, and I was like, oh God. And I said, okay. So my friend Mary Miller was like, I got this. And I said, you go, girl, keep a tab, and I'll pay you everything back. Yeah. So she's like, don't worry, I will. And so she paid for everything. I had $300 in cash to my name that was in my wallet. And that was actually a lot for me at the time. Yeah. To have $300 cash sitting in my wallet. That was all I had. Wow. So because all my bank accounts were shut down, and some of them were local branches. So I was like, I said, you can call the police. I said, but I got children. I gotta pay my mortgage. Life can't. I need to pay gas for my, hello. And so they were like, yes, no problem. So they spoke to the police. I'm like, all right, yes, they're going to go through their protocol, but absolutely, this was not a murder. So we will open up your local bank account. That was our smallest bank account. So whatever, but it was enough to get me by. But until they did that, my friend was paying for everything. She gave me a lump sum to function. I mean, so I was stripped of my sort of social status in a way financially, because, my husband and I were very comfortable. He was extremely successful. And I was like, you mean I have to ask for money? It was I was turned on my ear from the lifestyle that I just had 48 hours before this. Right. It was insane. But you got to figure out, religious, depending on your religion. Some people bury the dead right away. Some people wait. And in my world, we, wait, we embalm them, and then we bury them at a memorial service. So that's what I did. But so the first week, 10 days was dealing with the business of death.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right away is when all the fanfare is. So everyone's calling, everyone's coming, everyone's showing up. It's a beautiful thing. But my best friend, Mary Amelia, said, I'm going to step back right now. I'm here. I'm here for all the business. I'm here for all the basics. I'll let you tend to your flock and manage all your friendships and do what you have to do. You need me, you let me know. I'll come right over. Again, she lived a block away. And she was, her husband and I were best friends with, Daniel and I were their best friends. So, so it was a very personal relationship. She said, but guess when I'm going to show up again? She said, when all this dies down.
Yep.
Because that's when it gets real.
That's when we really need people.
Yep.
I try to educate people about supporting their friends. Like, don't just do it now. Do it in 3 months.
Correct.
In a year, when there's no more meals, there's no more cards, and it's the most lonely. That's when we really need our friends.
Yep. And I don't know that many people that are like, I need you, help me. We just aren't made that way anymore for the most part. Mm-hmm. And you just have to show up for that friend.
Exactly. That's
Even if they say, no, I'm fine. Just say, you know what? Okay. Can I take you out for coffee? Let's go meet. Let's go for a walk. We don't have to talk about anything. That's when we need you. After they're buried, after all the family has gone home, after the friends have gone back to their lives, and they all have a kind word. They're all there for a hug. But when life goes back to normal for them is when we need the support, because it definitely isn't back to normal for us.
Right. I mean,
so so the first few months, the first 2 years, I was unconscious, basically. I don't remember.
Were you working outside the home or home with the kids?
No, I was a total housewife. I did not want to work. I was not working. I had then a couple of months later, or like a month later, I miscarried these babies. It was what it was, took care of that. And that was sad in and of itself. So I was like, now the last evidence of Daniel's gone. I mean, that was just a gut punch too.
Oh, I'm
but
sure.
A relief at the same time on some level. I hate saying that, but it is the truth. So, had my body cleaned up after that. And then it just sunk in. And, I didn't turn to drinking or drugs or self-harm in any way, although I absolutely see why people do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But my escape was to sleep. I slept. I got my kids to school. All my close friends rallied around. They're like, we'll take them. I was like, I can't get them to soccer. Can you take? Yes, absolutely. So everyone was helping me with the kids. They dropped them off. They'd feed them dinner in the house because I was asleep.
Oh, wow. That's how you dealt with it.
That was my drug of choice, was sleeping. Mm-hmm. It was awful. I really don't remember much for the first 2 years.
Yeah. So when do you remember things starting to get better, and what are some things that helped you?
So then I will tell you, about 2 years after he died, 2 years after he died, my girlfriends were like, so it's time to wake up. They didn't know. They meant well. And I was like, what do you mean wake up? I'm fine. And they're like, you're not fine. We haven't seen you much except for a girls' night out here and there. And even then you would only come out with us for an hour. You need to find a boyfriend. And I was like, what? No, I'm not even a dater. Like, Daniel's only my real, like my second real boyfriend, husband, my first husband. Like, no. And they were like, just go on a website. Where'd you meet Daniel? You said you met him on a website. And so I went back on, and I really was very upset about doing this. And I'll get back to what really woke me up, but I'll tell you, this woke me up in the worst way. But I ended up, finding someone on paper who was very good, but in real life, and I was in no state of mind to find a serious mate. Right. Should not have done that. But I wasn't a dater. I was like, okay, well, we like each other. He's good enough. I was not expecting perfection. That would never happen again in my eyes. So I was like, he's fine. He's fine. He's a good distraction. He makes me laugh. We share in some commonalities. His kids were really unhealthy, but I was like, I can fix them. It was a whole project I took on. Yeah. I helped co-parent those kids with his ex-wife because the two of them were not right. And they just, good Lord, it was a mess. And my kids were with me, but I think I kind of, on some level, I feel like I neglected my kids a little bit because these other two kids were really unhealthy children. And I was like, you guys are perfect. You're my kids. You're going to be fine. Yeah. Let me help these two lost souls that are not going to be fine because their parents are really screwed up. So, I don't know. I was not a great mother for 4 years. I think I was better than I think.
Right.
But I, quote unquote, should have been awake and should not have taken up with this man and his weird children and just devoted, but I couldn't. I did not want to be alone. I did not want to go through this alone. I was so angry at that point with my situation and just like furious. And I was like, I don't care. I am going to have a boyfriend and I'll take care of his kids and my kids will be fine. I got a little defiant. Whatever. Listen, we traveled a lot. We had a lot of fun, all 6 of us together, or however many we were, right? 3 and 3. Yeah, 6 together. So it wasn't like it was a bad year and a half. We were quite busy, but it was quite unhealthy. And at one point became dangerous where I had to call the police on this man because it turned out he was abusive. And when you're in that, they know what they're doing. And then you think it's your fault or whatever. Like, I was just awful.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you when I really did wake up was when I finally threw him away and got rid of him and his children. I said, it is time, big girl, to stand on your own 2 feet, raise your children the way you and Daniel saw fit, come back to life. Enough indulging yourself with this garbage. And then I woke up and all we did was look ahead. We healed from that nightmare, but we looked ahead and I never looked back. And I was never prouder. I finally came back to life. It took 4 years and a bad relationship.
It sounds like your friends meant well, but they kind of pushed you when you weren't ready to start dating. And then you were in that and it felt good to be with someone again.
Of course.
You ignore these red flags. And then after you were done with that, you're like, I don't need a man to be okay.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
Like, I can do this on my own. It's like it woke you up to be like,
it woke me up.
We don't have to. Now, some of us, as you know, I'm remarried and I chose to do that, but I know I could have done it without it. And that I started to. And I found my own independence before I started dating. And I think that's so important for everyone. We have widows and widowers listening. Like, you don't have to have a spouse or be dating in order to be okay. Like, you can do it on your own.
I mean, I wish I was of the mind where I was like, sure, I'll have a little fun on the side. My kids will never know. Like, I'll just send them with a babysitter. We'll have our dates and then I'll come home and be mommy. I did not want any part of my own individual situation. So I brought this man in. His lease was up. I moved him into our house. I mean, you name it, I did it wrong. He also was a high functioning alcoholic. I mean,
so much.
I know how to pick him. I'm a winner. Let me tell you, I picked a winner.
We're not in our right frame of mind after we lose our spouse, you know.
And my mother was sitting there watching from the guest house. She's like, let me tell you something. Water seeks its own level. And Betsy, you are circling the drain. What is this trash you brought in? Trash goes out. And I would say to her, I can't be alone. It was like I was terrified, absolutely terrified to be alone. I felt completely incompetent. I thought I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. And I thought, this will be fine. I'll make it fine. Everything I do is good. I'm going to make this fine. That did not happen. And I used to tell him, because he really thought that I was in it for the long haul and that he like had me around his finger. He didn't. I just kept the peace, you know, in an abusive situation as you could. But I was angry and it was an angry relationship. But I have to say, and I wish my children were never a part of it. He didn't bother them except one time, and that's when I called the police. But it was, you know, me and him were always fighting and stuff, and he was just awful to me. But I got to get out a lot of rage on him. So my yelling back was absolute, you know, an unleashing of my rage on this scumbag I actually didn't care about one bit. And he would try and hurt me, and then I would go after him with words. I'm not a physical person, so words, screaming at him, and then he would back off. But this was like a nightly occurrence. The children never heard somehow, thank God. Yeah. But this went on for like a good 8 months nightly of these fights. And I used to say, you think you've got me? You don't have me. When my head gets screwed back on correctly, you'll be out before you can even blink. Trust in that. And he was like, yeah, sure. You need me. I was like, oh, I don't need you. I don't need you. I want you around to distract me, but I do not need you. Understand that. I mean, who says that to someone? But this was not love, Michelle. This was a convenience and a good distraction. But it was that rage that woke me up. And it was the female rage, as Taylor Swift has bought that expression, I think, trademarked it. But female rage woke me up. And finally I was like, enough. And I kept praying to God, and I would talk to my therapist. She was like, when are you going to have had enough of this? And I said, I'm getting there. She said, can't you make that decision? I said, I'm not strong enough to make that decision yet, but I promise you it's coming. And when it comes, this will move very quickly. And it did.
Wow.
It did. And out he was. I never looked back. I didn't miss him. I couldn't believe all I had put up with. I had to do a lot of apologizing to my children and getting their trust back, that I was never going to do that to them again. And I was just, that was the rebirth of me. And I'm so, so proud of myself for doing that and becoming the mother I am to this day.
Yes. And what is like your take on dating now, like current day?
So that was a little bit scarring and jarring for me. I did have one light relationship with a much older man a few years later when we moved back to New York. Because I don't know, I was like, you've never dated. Try dating, see what that's like. And he seemed safe and fine, and he was interesting and very handsome and, educated, like all the things I liked. But I also knew this wasn't going to be someone he was too old. Like, I'm like, okay, by the time, if this all worked out, the guy's probably going to be dead. So no.
I don't want to go down that path again.
No, not just yet. So, we dated on and off for like 2 months, very lightly. And that was fun. It served its purpose. And I was done with that. I got bored and I was like, well, okay, but we remained friends for a long time. If I saw him today, I'd give him a hug. And it was totally a benign and sweet little relationship.
Yeah.
But I was, again, my time was again distracted. I was taken away from my children on and off for 2 months. And I'm like, no, we've been down this road before. You're not able to do two things at once. I also told my husband when we were first dating, I said, just so you know, I don't really care if we're rich or poor, but I can't do two things at once well. So I want to be a housewife and we can live wherever, or I want to wait to have kids and I want to work and make money. But once we have kids, I just want to be a housewife and a mom. I can't do two things well. So I told myself again, I was like, you can't do two things. And I'm not limiting myself. These are not limiting beliefs, but I am not made that way. I admire the corporate moms who really are able to parse it out and compartmentalize. God bless them. And I know a lot of them. They work a full-time job. They come home and they take care of their kids full-time, and they're great moms.
Yeah.
I am not made that way. So I said, you're going to wait to date until the kids are in college. So I did. And I just, again, went back to devoting myself to them and launched them. And they're both, one's graduated, one's in college, and they're in amazing schools. They're thriving. They're doing great. And I always say, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Yes.
Mom, I got 100. You're welcome. They're like, how come it always goes back to you? I'm like, because it does.
Yeah.
Okay, it does. I sacrificed everything to focus on you, and I started work. I just started working in, of course, and I started working only when the oldest was like established in high school, and like, I'm a realtor, so I was able to come pick them up and do all the mom things. It was perfect. Right. So, but I'm afraid to date. To answer your question, I'm actually really afraid. Although now they would never know because they're not home anymore consistently. I've stepped into the dating pool again a couple times. I've had some lunch dates, but there's just no one. And so now it's like I have my own life and I have a, thriving career. I have lots of friends again. And I'm really happy in my own life that I developed. My kids know that I'm always available. So to take me away from that, even lightly, you're really going to have to be pretty stellar. Yeah. So it's not been great. And I'm afraid, to be honest.
Yeah. Is it the kind of thing, like if someone like, you had a story like Daniel, you met somebody and it was amazing, like you'd be open to it, but you're not really searching? Is that kind
correct?
Of yeah.
Correct. That's what I tell God. I'm like, if you want me to meet someone, I am open, but literally he's going to have to come and knock on my door and be perfect.
There you are.
For me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some neighbor who's like a widow or divorced or whatever, single, got my package by accident. He's going to bring it to me.
Right. Like a Hallmark movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm open. He's got to be right, because he's just got to be right and worth the sacrifice of me not devoting to myself now.
Yeah. It's like we learn not to let everyone into our lives and like to set boundaries, and like not everyone gets, I'm talking in friendships too, not everyone gets the same access. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that, where there's like a circle, like you're in the middle, your close friends and family in the first layer, and then it goes out and goes out. And I had to learn this, maybe it was like 10, 15 years ago, that the people that are on the outside that are acquaintances, they don't get the same access. They have to earn that.
Yep.
And so I don't have to feel like I have to give everybody that time.
No way.
It sounds like that's something you've learned too.
Absolutely.
Like,
I have a very tiny group. Tiny. I think there's maybe 5 people max in that tiny group. And that's it. Those are the ones that get the full download. No one else gets that.
Right.
That's it.
I love that.
They're the ones I call. Like when my mom died, those were the people I called to tell my mom had died. That's how close we are. And that's it. No one else.
Right.
Everyone else just gets the public face.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple more questions. Were there any like Bible verses or any songs or anything, sayings, anything that helped you through your time?
It's so trite, but it's one that my mother has always taught me. I don't have a good memory for things, so it's one that I could remember. This too shall pass.
Oh, yes.
As simple and popular as it is that popular for a reason.
Yeah.
This too shall pass. And my therapist used to say that when I would have those absolutely overwhelming bouts of grief, she said she wasn't a religious person, she was spiritual, and she said, like a wave, this too shall pass.
That's good.
Yeah. And my mother always said, she would hold my hands. I know you can't sit through this moment. A couple more breaths. Wow. Take another one and another. And this too shall pass, and another. And then it would pass. That's what she did for me.
She sounds just so amazing. All the, like, there's so many sayings you've said that she has said.
Oh, it's my mom.
And,
my dad was awesome too. He just died so long ago. But yeah, I was very fortunate. And were they perfect? No, I was raised in the 70s like a wolf. We were just let loose at dawn and came back when we felt like it was dusk for dinner, like feral. But they weren't really active parents. But as I got older and needed them in my world, they were always there. They gave me everything I needed.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Emotionally.
Yes. So what would you say has been the most challenging part of being widowed?
Couple things. I like that question because there's so much that's challenging.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few things. So we'll have I think I have 3, Michelle. So remind me that I've got 3 because I think they're important for people to hear.
Yes.
The first one is self-motivating, because when you're alone, you only have yourself to pick yourself up every day and encourage yourself to start anew. When something goes wrong, you only have yourself. Yes, we have our friends, we have therapists, we have our pastors or our priests or whatever that we go to, but it's not the same as having your like buddy in bed with you and like in the bathroom and your intimate partner. That's gone.
Right.
So you don't have that person anymore. Like, of course you've got this. You're amazing. Oh, and you look great. Let me help you. You know what I mean? Let me run your lines with you. Whatever. I'm making it up. You know what I mean? Let me listen to your speech. We don't have that. So it's all on our shoulders. And that goes into 1A, which is living with everything on your shoulders, especially when you're a parent. Everything is on you. You are mom and dad 24/7. There's no one to pick up at the soccer games unless you have to call and ask for help. There's no one to help your kids with the math homework. There's no one to deal with them when they're acting out and you are just tired.
Yep.
There's no one else to feed them. When you're sick as a dog, there's no one else to take care of them. It's all you every day. You're starting a new career. There's no one to give you that hug on the way out the door. You got this. I love you. It's not there anymore. So that's really been challenging and persists to this day. Like, I don't have Daniel to call up and be like, oh my God, I'm having the worst day. Listen to what happened. I don't have that. I'm not going to do that to my friends. It's just not the way I am.
Right.
I do a little bit, but not like I normally would.
Right.
Can you believe what she said? Listen to this. It's the gossip story that's continuing. I can't believe, and he's like, what happened? She said that. He was fully into it with me, but so I don't have that. So it's that being alone constantly and being your own motivating force every day in every way. That to me is really challenging.
Yes, definitely.
But we deal with it. Well, what are we supposed to do? Lie down and die? No, that's not what they would want. Yeah, we have no choice. All the boats are burned. It's us all day long. And I commend the people that are able to ask for help from their friends and their local neighbors and things like that. I'm not that way. I am so stoic. I will drown before asking for help. I mean, it's really bad, but I've never drowned. So we're obviously doing okay. Yeah. But I am very stoic like that. Like if I'm asking for help, something's really wrong.
Right.
You know, I really need it.
That's really good.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a brand new widow?
Oh, wait, let me just tell you one last thing. So one other thing. So there were 3 things and I'm forgetting the third, but the second one was really trite. Yeah. Who helps me put on my bracelets and button that hard to reach button on a blouse? That is a huge challenge.
It actually is. Yes.
Or that necklace, it's hard to get that clasp. I don't have any nails right now. I have a really hard time. Or just like buttoning a French cuff shirt, like all these things.
All the things you take.
That's a real challenge.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Is. And it's in those moments that I feel so sorry for myself. Like those will just send me down the drain again to this day. Really? Can't you buckle your own thing? You know, what's wrong with you? You know, I just do that. Or I'm like, really? Look, I gotta do this alone? What? You know, so it's just some levity to it, but it's a legit challenge. Anyone who feels me, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I used to get really mad with like all the things that like the guy things.
Yes.
Like, the first thing for me was changing setting a mouse trap. Like a few months after he died, and the boys are saying there's a mouse, and I'm crying. I've never set a mouse trap, and it was just like, and it would be anything. It would just make me start crying when I'm like, oh, I gotta pull weeds, I gotta do that, like stuff that I would never do.
Yes,
like this is not fair.
Yes,
with the car, like all of it. I was
same. That kind of thing I've learned. Like the car, I get one kind of brand car from one dealer. They know my situation. I trust them implicitly. Like, I need your help. I am a widow. I am going to trust you. Don't ever take advantage of me because I will know that. I know money.
Yeah.
I will know if you're trying to screw me over, but I need you. And they were like, we are here. And I've been with them ever since we moved back to New York. I had the same relationship out in Santa Fe. There are certain men that I trust to do man things, as I call them. You know.
That's great.
I know, but picking.
So did you say there was a third thing?
There is, and now I can't remember it. But like, you know, what is it? The challenges. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I can't remember it because here we go. Yeah. My Civ brain at 54.
Back.
Yeah,
let me know.
See if it comes out.
Okay, so now let's move to that question.
Sorry. Yes.
What would you say to a brand new widow? What advice?
I would say I am so sorry, and I thought the club was closed. We were not recruiting new members.
Yeah,
yep, I know. That is the first thing I would say. The other thing I would say is take it minute by minute.
Yes.
Minute by minute, because these are moments you would never fathom experiencing. I don't care if your husband's been sick for 3 years. I don't care if your husband's been sick for a week. I don't care if he dropped dead. The minute they are gone, I mean, and you know this, Michelle, the minute they are gone, it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
And we've never been here before. Thank God, most of us at younger ages. And you have to take it minute by minute. These are feelings that don't come with a manual. These are extraordinarily complicated and deep and ravaging feelings. They pass. You have to line up your circle of trust.
That's good.
Delegate what you can to people you can trust, because there's no way you can do it all. And the hardest thing that I found, I think that a lot of widows and widowers find, is there's no way around these feelings except through them, because they'll be waiting for you when you sober up. They'll be waiting for you when the Neiman Marcus card has declined because you've overspent. They'll be waiting for you after you downed the 10th sundae that day, or 10th piece of pie. The grief is still there, and it's going to take more and more and more to feed it and hide it. So just let them hit you head on. Gird your loins, as I say, bear down, and you will get through it. I promise. You and I are living proof that you will get through it, and you will not only survive, but you will find your way to thrive in a new way again. I promise you that.
That's beautiful. I think that's I know that's going to really help some listeners.
Good. And just because it feels like it won't. You want to lay down and die with them. I never had suicidal thoughts. I never had a plan, but I absolutely had suicidal thoughts after my husband was killed. I was like, he should be here. I am worthless. The children will be fine. I can't do this. I cannot do this. But every day I got back up, and I was like, you may feel like you can't, but you're obviously doing it. Keep going. That was a mantra in my head that I constantly, still to this day, repeat. keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going, even when it seems impossible.
Yep.
Such good advice.
Thank you.
I would love to pray for you right now. Would that be okay?
Thank you. Of course.
All right. Dear God, thank you for Betsy, and thank you for connecting us through technology. And I just pray blessings over her and her boys, and just pray that you continue to go into the cracks of their hearts that are still broken from losing Daniel, and just continue to give them comfort in only a way that you can. I just thank you that her boys are doing so good, and just pray that they continue to grow and thrive. I thank you for Betsy's real estate and just all the things she's doing with her podcast. I just pray blessings over that. Pray for every single person listening today that they will really let this advice soak in, that it's not always going to be so hard, and just give them peace as they go about their day. And we just thank you for all you've done. Amen.
Amen.
Well, before we go, Betsy, could you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Sure. So it's a baby podcast, embryonic stage pretty much. And Michelle's been on it already. We've already recorded a great episode together. It's called Heavens to Betsy. It's on Spotify and Apple. And it's a fun podcast. So we do talk about real things, like we talked about being widows and all of that. But we have some fun with it. Like we have a segment called Why Would People Do That? And it's like the most baffling thing. It's not negative. It's kind of fun. I make fun of myself in it. Yeah. And then we go into advice questions. So I call it Real Advice from Real People for Real People, because we've all lived life and we all have our version of advice. So take it or leave it. It's a lot of fun. There's all walks of life that are going to be on that podcast. And, I just love to share goodness and fun and some levity in the world.
Awesome. So we'll have the link to that.
Thank you.
And is there anywhere else people can connect with you?
Oh, yes. You can find me on Instagram at Betsy Ronel, Life, Real Estate, and More.
Okay, awesome.
If you just look up Betsy Ronel, I think there's only one account, not a common name. So you'll find me. And I love to connect. And if you write messages, I always write back. I'm so good with that. And I love communicating. Yeah.
That's so great.
Well, happy to hear from anyone.
Well, thank you everybody for listening today. A couple more things before we close out. Please join our Widow Too Soon community. You can find the link in the show notes, as well as we still have openings for our retreat in January. I think we have 54 registered. Probably cap it at 80. Yeah, it's very exciting. This one is just for women. It's going to be a faith-based retreat. We have all kinds of speakers coming in. We're going to have small groups. We're even doing line dancing one night. I have a friend leading that, because the theme is morning to dancing. And so we are literally going to be morning. There's going to be morning happening, but we're also going to end it the last night with dancing. So it's going to be amazing. So the link's in the show notes. If anyone else wants to join us, please check into that. And thank you all for being here. And thank you so much, Betsy. And have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, Michelle.